Hi everybody, this is Richard Norton and I'm with Sensei Benny the Jet Urquidez, and we're here on behalf of Martial Info and really for the whole of our brothers out there in the martial arts world. And we've just been having a little chat and venting.
Right. Some good heated up talk here.
Yeah, but the topic we've just been discussing, as a very casual sort of a chat, was again one of my favorite topics. It's about integrity, it's about honor, it's about morality in the martial arts and the behavior that we need to adhere to as proponents of the arts and as exponents of the arts and as ambassadors for the arts that really our whole lives have been immersed in. And we're just talking about, and this was a topic that we touched on once before with one I did with you, Mr. Farabus, and that's about being a martial artist 24 hours of the day, not just the hour that you're on the mat and when you walk on and you punch around and you wear your colors and your gi and everyone says, "Ooh, well, he's a martial artist and he must be in charge because he's this and that." He probably lives all the virtues that he espounds to the students and everything else. And we're just saying, in my experience, it's becoming a rarity, which is very sad. And I'd love to get into this with Sensei Benny, because not just because he's sitting here, but there is no greater role model for me as a martial artist than Sensei Benny, because he's a doer. He lives by what he says, he walks the talk. And anyway, that's we're just introducing you to the conversation.
That's right. Well, that's right. It is a heated up conversation, is because, the passion, we do this as a living. And as a living, because we walk it, talk it, eat it, dream it, is just our living and what we do. However, because we come from the Bushido heart from back in the 60s, we come back from old ways of training, and we lost the Bushido heart. There's a code of honor between warriors. Somewhere we lost when actually full contact karate came in 73. In 75, the word kickboxing was born. As it gone on in the 80s, we started having that dividing, and then that dividing is when you have kickboxers and martial artists. There was dividing with that, and we started to lose the code of honor. And you know what? Honor is such a major thing in our life, because biblical, and right from the beginning, honor your mother, your father, your brother, your sisters, honor your friends, honor your parents. Honor is what we start to lose. And when we lose the honor, the deep inside of what honor really means and what it's about, then the integrity, as you're talking about, it's about, it changes. There's got to be, everything has to be balanced in life. If it's too much, for instance, I once said, too much love is not healthy. And my wife had said, well, how could too much love be not healthy? And I said, because when you love somebody or something so much, it starts to change, gotta have, need, or want. Or if it's not enough love, it becomes, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not. So there's a balance. Life always has balance. And I think in the art, we lost the balance, Richard. We lost the balance of it.
And if I may say, I agree with you there, because there was a thing about unconditional love. And people would say, "Oh, I love my wife, I love my husband," or whatever, unconditionally. And you're like, really? Well, think about unconditional love. Does that mean that if my wife loves me unconditionally, that's okay for me to go and see a whole lot of other ladies, to do this, to step outside? No, there's got to be some lines drawn, as far as there's got to be conditions of one's love and one's devotion, I think. And within the arts, we're devoted to the arts, and there's got to be conditions with that devotion, and there's got to be levels of behavior that we should not drop below. And you were talking about old school, and that was my point on another thing, is that why should behaving like a gentleman, having manners, having behaving in society, in a very elite sort of way as far as courtesy, respect and everything else, why should that be called old school? I mean, old school, that sort of to me says that, well, that's what we used to do in the 60s and
That's in the
70s.
past.
Are you kidding me? You know, why wouldn't that still be something that's expected of us as martial artists
Which it
today?
is. It is, Richard, really, truly. There's a lot of us, you know, we're spread out, but there's a lot of us still believe in the Bushido with the code of honor. And in this, I believe that we just need to get it louder for this young generation to understand that. To understand that, you know, there is a code of honor and there is honor system. But right now, you know, black belts, you know, the black belts, you had to be 18 years old to even qualify back in the 60s to get black belt. Now, you know, 10, 7 years old, they're having black belts, junior black belts and so forth, which is okay. However, the point is to teach these youngsters, having a black belt, there is a responsibility. Just because they're juniors, they should learn how to meditate. They should learn the understanding of what it takes to be a black belt. Okay? And that's what we're missing with these youngsters, that we need to teach them not just the technique and the wazas and grab bars, and so we need to teach the honor behind it. We need to teach the discipline. Where there's no discipline, there's no respect. And we know, and we need to go back, and which is going full circle. It is going full circle. And there's a lot of us, man, you know, when we say old school, no. Old school is in the now. It's in the now, because nothing's changed with us. I don't teach old school back then. I teach in the now. And we keep reinventing ourselves. Why we keep reinventing ourselves? Because life changes. It moves, and you have to move with time. And this is why we keep changing, and we keep reinventing ourselves. And this is what we need to teach these youngsters. We need to teach them how to reinvent.
And I think, and I agree, the evolution of the arts for me is about, well, I know when I started with judo when I was 11, because that's all there was in Australia.
That's right.
I started with my Hanchitina Sebarano in Goju when I was 14, 15, whatever, and all I did was karate because that's all there was, you know. Now we're into an MMA world, and again, for those out there, just understand MMA means mixing martial arts. MMA doesn't mean UFC. UFC to me is a sport version of MMA. There's rules and everything else, you're in a cage. But for us, we've always been mixed martial artists.
That's right.
You know, in the early days of the Jet Center, you had boxers and you had grapplers in there. We were always the MMA people. It's just evolved now to be the flavor of the month and everything. And I agree, you know, that old school, when I talk about just doing karate or just doing boxing, it's evolved now into a mixed martial arts world. But what shouldn't have evolved into something else is, again, the integrity that goes along with being a proponent of mixed martial arts, for instance. And, you know, I've often said, you know, and I've quoted you, Sensei, you always use an example, when kickboxing first came in Australia, suddenly, well, we don't bow, we're kickboxers, you know, we're not point karate people and everything. And even today, you know, there's a kind of a perception of being an MMA fighter. You have tattoos and you're a real macho kind of dude and everything. And I still say to people in seminars, I said, if you think you're, you know, I go to Sensei Benny's class, and let me tell you, we will line up, there is protocol, you will kneel down in your Caesar position, and it wouldn't matter if you didn't, if you're standing you will bow. You will adhere to a protocol. You won't speak out of turn. There will be respect to you, to the instructor and everybody else, and that's the way the classes are run. So I said, if you think you're too tough to bow or show the respect to the other person, I said, let me tell you, you're not tougher than Sensei Benny the Urquidez. You are not tougher than, say, John Hackelman. Remember, we had him in here and he went through a long spout. If you go to the pit, even though it's MMA, we still train in gis. He paid homage to his traditional background. We still have that respect, and I love that he put that to his kids, you know.
Right.
And on it goes. And as I said, if you think you're tough, David, I'm here to tell you, you are not tougher than those people. And if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for you. And guess what? If that's still not okay with you, please don't come on that mat. You're not welcome. Go somewhere else and do what you do. But they're the rules. You're in my house when you're on our dojo mat, same as when I'm with Sensei Benny, I'm in his house. These are the rules, you know. You don't like it, that's fine. It's a free will, but go away. And I think even if there was only 2 voices, it's important that we don't compromise our principles just because everybody else is doing it. And I'm not saying everybody else is, by the way, that's a generalization. But let's be those last stalwart voices that say, no, there is a protocol, there is that Bushido code, there is the moral obligation, the honor, the integrity as martial artists. And let's keep waving the flag. And if one child sees us bowing to each other and goes, wow, then it makes it okay for that child to do it, then I think we've achieved something.
And that's the knowing, Richard. The knowing deep inside. How do you know? It goes deeper than our head. It's just the knowing that this is how, this was in the beginning, this is how it will be in the end, with a code of honor.
Because, I mean, let's face it, in the end of the day, we have to sleep with ourselves, with our integrity, with our principle, with everything else. And I totally understand the school owners out there. There will be some compromise when you're paying the bills, you've got overhead, you've got a family, you've got to pay the rent. There's a bit of appeasement to a student in regards what rank means to them, keeping them inspired, maybe not as old school as it used to be, you know, that rank comes a little soon, that's okay, but I think there's got to be a line where you refuse to compromise your principles and drop below that line. There's got to be that bar. Otherwise, get out and earn a living doing something else. But do not destroy the integrity of the arts that we're so passionate about and we love so dearly. And I think that's the message out there. And
I agree. For all you that are watching, take this in deeply at heart.
So can we go on with that? There's something else I want to